The UFC's return to Manchester on pay-per-view is in the books. After UFC 204 where Bisping would main event versus Dan Henderson, the UFC 100 pay-per-views later made a return to Manchester with a rematch at welterweight, where Leon Edwards in the main event was defending his world title versus Belal Muhammad after the first fight ended unceremoniously with an IPO. The co-main event saw the arguable best heavyweight in the world, Tom Aspinall, defending his interim heavyweight title against Curtis Blades in a rematch where Aspinall in the first fight got injured and blew his knee out in 20 seconds. This was alongside a card with some fun fights with English talent all over. Could UFC 304 deliver a legendary night in British MMA history? Let's find out. This is the Fight Franchise and the recap and review of UFC 304. The first fight of the night was Shauna Bannon taking on Alice Ardelion, where both ladies traded on the feet, with Bannon implementing a sidekick to help her on the feet. They had moments of grappling exchanges, with both girls having moments in the fight. The fight went to the judges' scorecard where Shauna Bannon won the split decision. Lucas Bursky was up against Mick Parkin, where both big men traded on the feet from the get-go, back and forth across the octagon, until midway through the first round, Mick Parkin rocked Bursky and sent him down, and with a bit of follow-up shots, Parkin secured the KO, and his first finish in the UFC since the Contender Series, and is a great win for Parkin, who is still undefeated. The next fight in the early prelims was Kiefer Crosby taking on Sam Patterson, with both men striking and then some clinching with a takedown from Patterson, where he locked up an arm triangle, the squeeze was tightened and Crosby would tap for Patterson to get the win with a quick, easy submission. Modestas Bukauskas and Marcin Prachnio was up next, where they fought across the octagon, where the first round they traded big strikes on the feet, where Modestas did the better across the first round. More of the same in the second round, where Modestas poured on the pressure, landing huge punches, and Modestas even got the takedown and looked for the Kimura but failed to secure it. The third round, Prachnio came out swinging, where Modestas got the takedown and eventually the submission in a bit of a fun and wild fight. Next up, Oban Elliott took on Preston Parsons, where they scrapped for 3 rounds where they traded on the feet. However, Parsons would look to grapple, with his attempts stopped with some great takedown defense from Elliott. Elliott did the better on the feet, coupled with nullifying the grappling of Parsons, would win the deserved decision. This brought the end to some decent early prelims. The prelims started with a hyped bout with a lot of bad blood, which was strangely removed off the main card, Muhammad Mukayev and Manel Kape. We was expecting a war due to the hatred between both guys, however we got a tentative fight with limited action across 3 rounds, where activity on the feet seemed to win Mukayev the first round. However, Kape did land some big shots at the end of the round. The second round, the same tentative action where Mukayev shot some takedowns, which included pulling down Kape's shorts, which got a stern warning. This round was very close and difficult to score, which seemed in Kape's favour. However, midway through the round he threw a kick which broke his toe. The final round, more of the same tentative action, where Mukayev seemed to do the better, and when the decision was called, he won the decision. Unfortunately, the fight didn't live up to the hype and bad blood, where I would be saying after the win Mukayev deserves the title shot, but it seems the UFC and Dana White are done with Mukayev, as in his post-fight press conference, Dana White has expressed he doesn't want to re-sign Muhammad Mukayev. Jake Hadley and Carlin Lockram were up next, where Hadley stepped in on 7 days notice in a weight class above from where he usually fights. He did unfortunately miss weight. The fight was fought on the feet with a bit of grappling attempts and clinching, where short notice Hadley seemed to do the better across all 3 rounds, winning a decision in a great win made better by the fact he took it on short notice. Next up, Molly McCann was taking on Bruna Brazil, where McCann was dominated across all 3 rounds in a good performance by Brazil, where Brazil would beat up on McCann, who was very reckless and came out pressuring but with no tactics, and just tried to bully Brazil, but it failed. A great win and performance by Brazil, who dominated McCann. Nathaniel Wood took on Daniel Pineda next, where Wood would get the job done across 3 rounds with some great work in rounds 1 and 2, where he rocked Pineda looking for the finish, but then opted to get into Pineda's guard. The third round Pineda rallied and did the better, but it wasn't enough, with the decision going to Nathaniel Wood. This brought the end to some strange prelims. The main card began with Arnold Allen taking on Giga Chikadze, where they squared off in a bout where Allen decided he would show he has what it takes to stand with one of the best strikers in the featherweight division, where the first round Giga did the better with his striking, where Allen grew into the fight, outstriking Giga in rounds 2 and 3, which was surprising as many thought the grappling and wrestling would be the key to victory for Allen, so seeing him outstrike Giga Chikadze like that was a fun fight and great viewing for the fans. Christian Leroy Duncan took on Gregory Rodriguez, where Rodriguez put on a good display of MMA, using his striking and grappling to get the better of Duncan across all 3 rounds to win a good decision. The next fight, Paddy Piml was taking on Bobby Green, where both men traded on the feet, kicks back and forth, where Paddy was noticeably the bigger guy. They would trade, with Bobby playing off all of Paddy's strikes, where an inside leg kick from Paddy while Green shot for a takedown stumbled Bobby into the guard of Piml, where he wrapped up a triangle choke and would cinch up the choke. Bobby Green would fight the submission attempt, however Paddy would get the arm to make a triangle armbar, but Bobby at that point was out cold in a statement-winning performance by Paddy, who sent the crowd wild and got the first finished after 7 straight decisions. A great win for Paddy, where it's onwards and upwards from here. The co-main event, Tom Aspinall was defending his interim heavyweight title against Curtis Blades in a rematch from 2 years ago, where Aspinall got injured in the first 20 seconds of the first fight. They would fight akin to the first fight, trading on the feet with both guys landing on each other. However, it was Aspinall who rocked Blades, who went stumbling down to the canvas, where Aspinall pounced on the back of Blades, raining down punches, where Mark Goddard had seen enough and called the fight for Aspinall to secure the TKO in 1 minute. It did seem a bit early, the stoppage, but Blades was going nowhere and was going to take more unanswered shots. Up next, John Jones or Stipe Miocic for undisputed gold for Aspinall. The main event, Leon Edwards was taking on Belal Muhammad in a rematch from a fight 3 years prior, where the fight ended due to Leon Edwards poking Belal's eye. However, many people, including myself, thought Leon would win due to him dominating the exchanges from the first fight. Belal would pressure in this fight forward in the first round and secure a takedown, wasting no time, silencing the crowd. Leon got back up and they traded good shots on the feet, where towards the end of the round Muhammad landed another takedown to steal the round. The second round was more of the same, domination from Muhammad, where he would even slam Edwards on his head and would be 2-0 up. The third round, Edwards dominated on the ground with Muhammad's back for most of the round, where he would look for the choke but failed to cinch it up. Going into the fourth round, it was 2-1 to Muhammad. The fourth round, Muhammad did brilliantly to prevent Leon getting more momentum after a good third round, dominating with grappling again, smothering Leon. The final round, Leon needed a finish to win the fight or a 10-8 round to get a draw to go home with the belt, but Belal once again dominated with the grappling all the way to the final 40 seconds, where Leon finally reversed the position and threw a huge elbow looking for the finish, cutting open Belal with the most damage in the fight. But it was little too late, with the final horn ringing, where Belal would win the well-deserved decision in a great win and performance in a fight many, including myself, thought he would lose. The fight was not entertaining, but it was nice to see a new champ crowned. Let's hope he turns around and defends against Shafkat. As for Leon, 1 or 2 wins and he gets back in the title picture. That brought the end to an okay night of fights. Nothing too amazing on this card outside some cool moments, some decent finishes on the early prelims, then 7 straight decisions. Shame there was no wars within them or fight of the year contenders, especially after the hype and build up of Makayev vs Cap. As for the main card, credit to Allen and Chikadze for giving us some fun stand and bang fun at times, and to Paddy and Aspinall who got some quick fun finishes. As for the main event, none of you will rewatch it, but it was cool to see a new champion crowned. If we are going to grade this card, it gets a C. Overall, nothing special, but credit to the crowd who was loud and chanting even though it was the middle of the night into the early morning in the UK. Next up, the UFC is back in Australia. Let's see if it lives up to the last time the UFC was in Perth.